Why does this Mew not come back as a 9? Let's take a quick look at a few things here, 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 and here, as well as the centering, just to get an idea of why I think this is actually an 8. Welcome to episode 10 of Guess That Grade, and if you're interested on certain parts of this card, check out the timestamps here and go ahead and skip to that section. But first, we're going to start off with the value indecision. Now, if you're new here or new to grading in general, like I am myself, I like to go to price charting. A lot of people like it, some people don't, and that's perfectly fine, but it gives you a pretty good idea of the current grades out there as well as eBay auctions. But on top of that, I also go to eBay myself and I like to look at the most recently sold items. So essentially what I do here is I go to eBay, I select the cards that are sold recently by changing the filters. I selected PSA, tag, whatever you want to do here. And in my case, I'm trying to get the comps for PSA, tag, and degree grading. So I'm actually going bit by bit. So I'm looking at PSA 10s and 9s recently sold, as well as tag, and then I search for degree in the search bar. And this gives me an idea of what they're recently going for. And a lot of people actually do this when you go to vendor shows or anything like that. So if you're going based off of a particular app like Shiny, Collectors, TCG, anything like that, but you're trying to find the best value for the card or you're trying to sell it for a certain amount, checking these comps in eBay is actually really good because sometimes they're even higher, or in this case, if you're trying to buy, it could be lower for you. Just make sure you check all your bases when you're going to look for a particular card. But let's talk about that. Let me give you some visualizations on this next screen here. Now, there's a few things to take in consideration when we're looking at grading. First, I'm going to talk about PSA because that's the most well-known, and a lot of people go with them because they do so much more grading than other companies. The total actual cost for using them is $97.57, taking in consideration that's card value included. So if you opened your card from a booster pack, don't account that $29.50. That's just the value of the card. I'm just assuming you're buying the card outright, which is why that card value is in there. Looking at tag and degree grading, there's a substantial difference between degree value, cost, and PSA and tag because they're going on the cheaper side since they're less well known than the other two. Now, when we're talking about if there's a profit or loss on them, we're going to again look at PSA. The most profit there for grade 10 and tag for grade 10 is based on the most recent 5 average sold on eBay. And then for degree, there's only one that sold at 10 for $77 I could find. But in general, I like to assume a 40% discount from the grade 10 PSA value. Grade 9 I would assume would be the exact same as the actual card value or close to what everyone else has. So to you, is this worth grading? Let me know in the comments down below. Now on to step 2, this centering, which is my personal favorite part to do. As long as you can get the card laid down flatly, you get a pretty good centering idea. But PSA and tag have the same tolerance of about 10%. Degree, you have to have a perfect 50-50 gem mint 10. So not all gem mint 10s are created equal. Degrees are at a higher standard from a centering perspective. On here, on the right hand side, we can see the picture that I took on the centering app tool. And within that, you can see the left, right, top, and bottom. And something we want to take into consideration is what is the most egregious or worst value that we get between the left and right and top and bottom here. So what we see is that the 45.5 is about 4.5% difference from 50. And you times that by 2, you get 9% for the left and right centering. And top and bottom, you do the same thing, you get a 1.6. The 1.6 is a great thing to have, and it absolutely meets the gem mint values for PSA and tag. Even the 9% is within that 10% difference. But for degree, we are absolutely not meeting that perfect 50 out of 50. And the last thing I want to say on this centering on the front is that you have to go by the worst measurement. So in this case, the left and right is 9%. You're going to go with 9%. You can't say, oh, it's a 1.6 on top and bottom, so I'm going to use that for PSA. No, they will go by the worst. So in this case, because 9% is the worst number of the two, we're going to go by that, and that's the gem mint 10 disqualification for degree. Looking at the back now, we have, again, a different tolerance. This is a lot more lenient. So PSA has a 50% spread, tag has a 30% spread, and degree has a 6% spread, which is insane because it's so tight. Like the qualifications to get degree 10 is insanely high for centering, but I admire it at the same time. In this case, we have the left and right, which is about 6% difference. And then we have the top bottom, which I'm trying to calculate in my head right now, but it's about a 3.8%. And then when we're looking at that, does that meet the gem mint qualifications? Again, go by the worst number, 6%. It actually does meet gem mint 10 for all three, just not the front, but at least the back meets all the qualifications there. Now on to probably the most difficult thing to look at, the card surface. So step 3, let's check it out. So the first thing I like to do is get a really nice cloth that you can use for your glasses or LCD or something like that and wipe off the front of the card and back so there's no smudges and doesn't distort what you're looking at. Here you see I can point out some actual little print lines that are very, very small, and you can only tell because of the tilt into the LED lighting that I'm using. There is a difference when you're talking about grading systems on whether a print line is obvious and if there's a lot, and it also depends on the grading service altogether. Some places don't care if there's print lines as long as it's just one. Some do care. Others will take in consideration the print line's very light and you might need to have it tilted under light to be able to see it versus it being very apparent and visible. So if you go back to my video on Squirtle, you'll see that that has a very apparent multi-print line kind of situation. On this one, it's very minute, very not detailed or obvious. You have to see underneath light. You probably can't even tell on this video, but it's there. So what we're doing on the surface is just getting a general look at the card. We're just flipping it side by side and then flipping it on the back and taking a look. Is there anything obvious from a surface perspective that may disqualify this from being a Gem Mint 10? And then as we look onto the back of the card, we actually can see a very faint print line going across the entire top of that border, going from all the way from the left corner to the right. I originally didn't even notice this when I was actually making the video. I'm just now noticing this looking back at it. So it is easy to miss these small details, especially if you're not paying incredibly close attention. So that's another ding on this card. Now, if we're talking about the differences between the surface rating for PSA and tag, in this category is very similar. We're gonna rate the PSA and tag at a 9 grade for the surface overall. And the reason I say that is because if you look at the actual guides from PSA and tag, you're usually noticing some kind of minor print line that can be factory based, which is what we're seeing here. It doesn't specify how many there could be, so it could be, a low 9 to an 8.5. But to be on the more conservative side, I think we're going to say 8.5 for PSA and tag. Degree, it does it out of 100%. So I would say it's about 70-75% based on their weighting scale. So I give it a 7.5. Now let's look at the last and final step, the corners and the edges. This can really make or break your card. Now looking at the card, we can see some very slight silvering, which is what I was pointing out there. It's just, basically it looks just like the holographic on the edge of the card is showing and peeking out a little bit, giving off that little reflection, and that's how you notice that. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing the same thing I did on the surface, but I'm specifically now looking at the edges of the card, and then I also look at the corners. I typically do just the edge first, validate all that is okay, and then coming back to the corners, I try to take it one piece at a time. That's my best advice for you there. Now, as we flip the card onto its back, and we take another inspection there, it's really, my focus here is just going to be looking at the edge of the card, but it's really easy to get pulled away to looking at the corners, especially if you know something very obvious like white specks. We did notice a little bit of lifting on the bottom corners, and that just can happen from being in an exact sleeve or just being in a sealed in a way that's getting pushed down. That can normally happen, and minor lifts aren't that significant of a damage to the card itself, so it won't deduct a lot of points. But you see here that I'm underneath the microscope now, and at the top left, you see that I'm actually going through the entire edge of the card. I'm going pretty fast. This is at 2 times speed, so don't mind it. And then I also start kind of looking around the card just to see if there's anything wrong with it. And obviously, I'm just checking to see if there are any factory issues and just kind of moving around just to inspect the card overall. Didn't see anything significant besides the minor lifts on the corners and the bottom back. Now that you have the information on the card that I've reviewed and additionally some other things you may have noticed yourself, what grade would you give this card? Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your opinion on that. Now, if you made it this far to the video, I am greatly appreciative of the fact that you even watched it. So please, I would love any feedback, any comments on this video. Please leave them down in the comments below. Also, if you would like to subscribe, that would really help this channel. My goal is to get to 500 subscribers, and then I can start offering membership services. That would allow me to start creating videos on other people's cards that they want to submit to me physically or even through a Discord channel for those members. I would love to do something like that for my future growth of this channel. But until next time, I hope you keep guessing that grade.